difference, our separation, our division.
Where's the title come from? Yeah. So it's actually a shortened piece from a sentence of poetry. And the full sentence is, when they open their mouths to speak, light pours out. And I was really attracted to this sense of a body as a channel through which these words or this light or could emerge from the body. So this idea of meaning emerging out of the body. So this sentence, to speak, light pours out. Of course, it also associates for me with the idea of ideas being illuminated and worlds being built and so on through the act of speaking, singing, vocalizing, and so on. My first impulse when I made this piece was, as you know, many of the previous pieces have really involved the audiences physically. They've been much more interactive and immersive. For this one, I really wanted to make a space of listening and thinking, actually, so that the audience would come together to think together. And so I knew that I really wanted to work with text and with spoken word and also with poetry. And I wanted to work with what are quite complex ideas for me, and also but make a simplicity in the proposal so that anyone could come and listen together and consider these ideas. So we have texts that are from many writers. In the performance I say that we have texts from 9 writers, but there are more, maybe 15, 20. And these are texts that deal with ideas of transformation, politics of transformation, different kinds of power, the power to make change, the power to make transformation, the power to create worlds, in fact. And of course, there's this famous phrase that words that make worlds. And these texts, they come from manifestos, from poetry, from philosophical texts and academic texts. And they also deal a lot with bodies, in fact. So they speak about ourselves as corporal entities, but also we speak a lot about bodies in transformation and bodies that have been historically disempowered. And this, for me, is one of the ways of addressing us as a temporary collective, is, of course, to go to the body, because this is where we all are very interconnected. And for me, the act of listening, of course, is extremely physical, which is why we chose, alongside the texts, we wanted to work with music and sound and really work on a kind of corporal listening, which brought me to the percussion part of it. Because I feel that, percussion is such an energetic transference. Like when you listen with your full body, and it brings a lot of charge with it. And so in this constellation, we have the listening to the words, we have the words that address the body, we have the sound that is actually vibrating the body. And then inside the percussion, we work with polyrhythm. And there's this beautiful mirror, because the polyrhythm is like different voices speaking at the same time, actually in tension with each other, like different experiences of time. And this can be quite challenging to one's listening habits, depending on which musical, cultural musical history you have. And so this pleasure and tension that I feel is circulating inside the ideas that are presented, and inside this rhythmic structures that are, like I say, giving pleasure, but also not entirely comfortable and can be quite challenging and quite charged. But I think the main thing was this sense that I wanted the words and the ideas to be available, and really available to all kinds of audience. So we were very careful the texts were, many of them, very complex also for us. And we've taken away a lot of specialized language and really tried to offer the ideas in quite an open form, so that many different kinds of people can listen together. So there's, like I say, a certain simplicity also, I think, on offer there. Yeah, it's definitely an experiment for me, because you're right, the politics in my previous pieces were much more implicit, and I would say physically embodied inside the invitation that the audience were activating themselves. So for me, there's a lot of strong political content in that work, but it's implicit. I wanted to experiment with being explicit and with really saying, hey, this is what we speak about tonight. Here we offer something to think about. As an experiment and as a challenge, like I say, to take some of these ideas that are very familiar to many people in the community, but not to everyone, and to see if we could shape them in a way that they become available to a wide audience. And they feel like the ideas also that we needed to hear now. I mean, the group that I made this piece with, we're all women in our 40s. We come from all over the place. We're all migrant. We've moved. We have our different perspectives, and we were looking for ideas that we need to hear now. I think also because they're ideas that bring hope for me. They have a definite positive drive. There's quite some anger also, and some articulation around deep problematics. But I feel that there's, in the way that we've treated them and the way that we embody them, there's also this great energy, I think, of celebration and hope. Also because one of the things we talk about in the show is finding ways to change how we listen. So, of course, listening, I think, is an incredibly political act in itself, and learning ways to listen becomes very important. And so I think this is a subtext in many of the texts as well.
Purity, pure bodies.